Hey guys, and thanks for locking back into my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the two-wheel drive Slash. We're going to be replacing the rear axle stub carrier. I took a turn way too hard. I should have known better, hit the wall, and the rear tire got impacted pretty well, and it broke the carriers itself. So it was on the, I believe it was on the left side, left rear, and this is basically the end result right here. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to replace it. It's not that difficult of a procedure to do. So anyways, let's get started. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and remove I already took the clips off the top. So I'm just going to raise this up so this way it's all exposed. And as you can tell, this is the stock chassis right here. So again, this video is made for beginners, okay? So for the ones that have been doing it for a long time, there's no big deal, but you got to start somewhere, right? This is where the impact hit, and let me show you, okay? I'm going to pull this wheel all the way back. There you go. There it is. That part right there is, let me get a little bit closer. That's the part that is broken right there. It's still hanging on to the one of the camber links right there, and as you look down in here, here's the well, I'll tell you what, let me just go ahead and just pull it apart. It's just much easier for me to show it to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and raise this up for right now as far as the camber link to get it kind of out of the way. This is the replacement part right here. This is actually an RPM one, if you can read that RPM right there. Okay, they're pretty inexpensive. They come either in blue or black. They didn't have any blue ones. I got a black one. A little bit stronger material as far as the plastic itself, plus they guarantee their stuff, so if it ever breaks or whatever, you can send it back, get a brand new one for free. So these are the tools that I'm going to use today in order to take things apart. Just a small pair of pliers right there. I got a 2.5 millimeter hex right there. This is a 2 millimeter, and then just a regular flathead screwdriver and a 7 millimeter nut driver to get the center nut off, like the one over here off the wheel. And tweezers wouldn't hurt, just in case if you drop the small parts, and a little brush or whatever you have in order to kind of clean the area that you're working on. So first thing we do, we're going to remove with a 7 mil. If you don't have it, you can use a little socket or whatever that will fit in there, but it's got to be a 7 mil. As it's coming off, I usually keep a little tray that you can easily purchase over at Harbor Freight or something like that. So a couple bucks or whatever. This one's been used. You can see it's got a hole right there already that I accidentally drilled through, but it's a magnet. Keeps your parts together. I'm going to pull the wheel off. Just be careful. Kind of wiggle it off, because sometimes when they're on there kind of tight as time goes by. And I always check the inside, make sure that nothing's cracked. This is a 12 millimeter inside over here. So I want to make sure there's no cracks in it, in the wheel. Sometimes from extreme stress, you can get stress cracks in it, and eventually it's going to break. Okay, and the wheel's going to start wobbling on you, or it's just going to, do all kinds of weird stuff, and you're not going to be able to control the car right. But as you can clearly tell here, we have a broken part, which is the axle stub carrier, or stub axle carrier, whatever you want to call it. The replacement part, again, is right over here. It's the RPM one. It goes this way, sorry. We're going to use the bottom hole in order to get this pin to come out. That pin's going to go through the bottom hole. So just kind of look at, if this is your stock one, just look at where the pin is located at. If your car's been running fine or whatever, don't change that if you're satisfied with it. All right, so I'm going to take I believe it's a 2.5. Let me double check. 2.5. Yeah. So 2.5 mil, turn to the left, take that bottom pin out, and luckily I can kind of do this with both hands. When they've been in the dirt for a while and stuff like that, you're going to have some buildup in there. So I kind of cleaned this out before I even started on showing this video a little bit. This is kind of a little bit the hard part. That's where I bring the pliers in. I kind of grab it right here, squeeze tight, and just kind of move it out. You see, because this pin is not threaded all the way. Try not to break it, to be hard on it to where you're going to end up messing up the little grooves right in here, because you only have that to tighten it. So by having this out right here, you just want to inspect it, make sure it's still straight. If it's bent, which I've seen before, it can be bent on the end from impacts or whatever, replace it. These are pretty easy to replace. Again, any hobby store will have them. You've got to make sure it's the right length. I'm going to put this one in a little tray right over there, so this way I know where it's at. Now this is actually, I'm going to lift up this camber link right here, and this just kind of slides right out. Now with your rag, just kind of clean it up a little bit. Now what you got here, what you need to do next, you need to pop this off. Okay. On the previous video I showed you how to do it, but I'm going to show you again. Take your little flathead screwdriver, put it right under there, and kind of just hold on to it tight and pop it like this. Pop it off like that. There you go. There it's loose. Take this off, put it in your little tray. Although it's plastic, it's not going to be magnetic, but you will have a little pin that falls out real easy, which is right there. Okay, take that out very carefully because you're going to need it. Put it in your little tray right there, and there's a little washer right over here that comes out. Let me see if I can, hang on one second, there it is. This is also not a magnetic type washer. It's not really metal. So, but put it in your little tray so this way you know where it's at. Now you can easily remove the hub itself, the carrier itself, where the bearings are. You see the blue here and the blue there? Those were actually new bearings I put in a long time ago, but that's the bearings. There's 2 bearings in here. Now, this right here, the axle itself, while you have it out, just inspect it, clean it, whatever you need to do, and that's why I used the little brush right over here. If it's really dirty in here, just kind of clean it out. You could use even a little bit of spray solvent, like a brake cleaner or something like that. Like I got this from AutoZone, brake cleaner, and that's the good thing about it. It doesn't really harm anything. After when you are done with this, just set this on the side for right now. We're not going to need that for right now. So here's the old carrier right here, the axle carrier with the bearings in it. So what I'm going to do is I actually took this 2mm. It doesn't have to be 2mm. It can be smaller or whatever. You can use a different kind of tool that kind of has a an end on it that's not very sharp. You just have to kind of be careful with it. The key thing is that you take this right here, the carrier, and what we want to do is we want to go through the center here. And of course, look, you're going to be looking at some different videos where they might show you this too, but they might show you a different technique, but this is the way how I do it. Very carefully, you go inside. You don't want to damage the bearing itself, but you're going to go in. You're not going to go in straight away because, as you can tell, it's just an open hole right there. You need to go in an angle like this. So by going in an angle, you're actually touching it on the inside, the top of this. But you don't want to press too hard. You want to just kind of do it gradual. So you kind of want to just move this thing around. Let me show you what I mean. So I go inside, hold on to it firm, and just kind of push a little bit here. Oh, see, it already popped out right there. So, and now you go like this on the bottom, give it a little push, and the top again, and the bottom again. You just kind of work it, and boom, there it is. It came out. Here's the bearing. These bearings are fairly inexpensive too. And that's what the inside looks like. Oops, sorry, right there. And you can tell if you look on the inside, you see there's the other bearing right there on the inside. That's what I mean. So we're going to do the same thing here. Now we got a little bit larger hole. Just kind of hold on to it tight and just kind of pop it out like this. So, and then just inspect the bearing while you're at it. If the bearing is damaged for whatever reason, you need to replace it. So next step is you take your new axle stub carrier. Did I say that right? This is again the RPM one, and it's clean on the inside. They usually pop in. Boom! You just put them in there, press in the middle, and they go in just like that. It's easy as that. It's simple. Now, this one right here goes on the outside. Now my glove got stuck in there almost. We press them in. So this is basically complete right here. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Now, next thing is your axle right here. After when you kind of clean your axle a little bit, and this is a good time to clean things. You slide this part right here, slide right over it like so. See that little hole right there? This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Now on that little tray you had where everything's kind of sticking on nicely, except some parts, there's a little washer that actually, let me get my tweezer. This is where you need the tweezers. Little, right here. Little washer that goes right on there. Kind of slide it down just like that until you see that hole again. You can turn this and just press down on it a little bit. Just like that. I'm going to use my pliers to do it because it's magnetic and it's a little bit hard to pull off with tweezers. There, and I'm going to stick the pin right in that little hole. Right there. Just like that. You see it? Key thing is, when you're working on something like this, you don't want to turn it because that thing will easily fall out. So this cap right here, you see the little grooves right here. They go on the inside. The smooth side goes on the outside, on the rear wheels. This same counts for the front as well. Now, you put it on there, but you need to make sure you line it up with these. You see the screws right there? They fit right in where that pin is. So you need to be precise about it. So put it on there and push down on it. And you kind of have to look on the inside, you know, very carefully. It's kind of hard to see it with the camera like this. As long as someone have them on there, this is the trick. Take your tire and put this in there, just like so. It fits right. You just kind of snug it in there, right where it's supposed to be. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put the nut on here. You take your 7mm little socket, you tighten this up. This is just a little trick. You can do it, you know, even when, you know, the car's, the wheels on the rear end and the suspension, but I do it this way. Just hold on to it tightly, you know, from the back right there, and tighten this up as hard as you can. By doing so, if you go all the way to the bottom, where it's all the way tight to the bottom, you loosen it back up. Okay? You loosen it back up, the nut will come out, and be careful not to lose the nut. I'm going to pull this back out. I'm going to remove this, and you see right now this little black thing right here, okay, has pushed itself down further to where it locks in. That little pin locked in. So, but this is how you put it back together. Now, the one thing that we need to do is we need to go back to this camber link, because guess what? A part of that broken part is still on there, and this takes, I believe, a 2mm. Yep. So just hold on to it, loosen it up. What we're going to do now, we're going to slide the axle back in. It's got grooves in it. Slide the axle right back in here. And if you want, you can clean the axle as well a little bit, because this one looked like it got a little dirty. This is a stock axle that was on there, by the way. So now we're going to take that little screw right here and put it back in the hole. You put it in the same way as you took it out. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. So the key thing is not to mess with if your car is aligned just right and it's running fine, you don't want to mess up the alignment on the rear. Otherwise your car is going to run funky again. You have to realign it. Well, we get into alignment in a different episode I'm going to make eventually to help you align your vehicle. So this is on right now. So what we're going to do, and actually I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 in here. Just temporarily, so I can put that pin that I took out, which is this one right here. It'll be a little bit easier to push it through. So I'm going to put a little bit in here as well. It'll eventually dry, so don't worry about that. Doing maintenance right now. Maintenance. So just wipe it down a little bit, just like, otherwise everything's going to get too slippery. Alright, here we go. So pin goes in, kind of get it started right there, drop this down, And now you can kind of push it in a little bit easier than if it would be dry. So now that I got it lined up, all I got to do is just push it in as far as I can go, just like that. Take the 2.5, I believe, 2.5 millimeter, and put it in there and turn to your right. Tighten it up. No need to put any Loctite in there. This is metal and plastic. Okay, it's not going to work with Loctite. So that's one thing you don't want to do. It's simply not going to work. You're wasting your Loctite. If it's metal and metal, it's one thing, but metal and plastic, don't worry about it. But look, looks all pretty now, right? It's all finished. So now all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the wheel back on and tighten it. And then we're all set to go. Just make sure when you put the wheel on, it falls right into the grooves. Put your little nut on there and use your, your 7 millimeter right over here. And just get it started like that. Hold on to the tire. Just keep turning it until it's tight. Make sure it's not off, not wobbling or nothing like that. So we're pretty much done. So anyways, the one thing I didn't show you is, and I should have, okay, is when I put this nut on, I usually do put a little bit of Loctite on it. You know, if you don't know what Loctite is, Loctite, you can buy it at a parts store. It's just stuff I use. It's thread lock. Okay, so basically what it do, you put a little dab on the end of the shaft that comes out before you put the nut back on there, or you put some on there and kind of spread it out with your finger before you put the tire on, and just kind of let it sit for a minute, and then put the center nut on, and then tighten it. Over time, it'll kind of lock into the grooves right there, so this way it won't loosen up in you over time. But that's the way to do it. So we're pretty much ready to race again. Well, anyways, I hope this helped you, and have fun driving your car, and don't take things too serious. Just play with it, learn from it. It's a lot of fun. It's a hobby, so we'll see you guys next time on another repair show.